You're tuned to The Drive on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. Steelers Nation Radio.
What's going on, Steelers Nation Radio? Good afternoon. It's The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson with you here on a Monday. As things are happening quickly, Matt, woke up today. It's October 20th on the calendar already.
Yeah, it's funny you went down that road.
Kind of nuts. You know, too, I already started compiling some stuff. We're going to do a beefy around campus segment this week on Wednesday.
Definitely.
Started compiling stuff this morning, and I'm like, there's 5 games left in the college football season. There's 5 weeks left in the college football regular season. Like, this is all happening pretty quickly here.
It really is. It's funny because I thought the same thing as I walked in, because I actually kind of thought of Dale. Dale and I used to talk a lot about that walk in this parking lot from the car to the front door. Felt the first time like, ooh, it gave me one of those for the first time.
Like
it. Yeah. The autumn wind is a raider. Yes. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Boistering across the South Hills of Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I'm still had, short sleeve shirt and shorts on. Like, it's pretty warm out. We have a window open at home, but I'm like, ooh, it's right around the corner, though. When I walk out of here tonight, it might be a little chillier.
It sure is. It sure is. It is that time. With it, all the good that comes with it, some of the negative, the weather and the darkness and those things as well, too. But what that obviously means
a lot with football world, too,
right? Means a ton in the football world. We're not quite at the halfway point, but we're pretty stinking close here of the NFL regular season. And, of course, we've got plenty to get into on what was a crazy, eventful Sunday.
Yes.
And that was just at Mile High Stadium in Denver.
33 points by one team in the fourth quarter.
We will go around the league and recap. 33 points by one team in the fourth quarter. Hands up if you've seen that before. Plenty that happened across the league, across the AFC North, all these different things on Sunday. But we start today, Matt, with it'll be a little bit of a different week this week. Since we're not, just doing our typical kind of hour downloading everything that happened in the Steelers game on Sunday. Sure. We're going to bump up.
Like Wednesday on will be normal, but Monday, Tuesday is a little, free time.
Little different. Like open period study hall almost, if you will, here. And with that, typically on Tuesdays, we do a thing called Tuesday Rewind, where it's just additional thoughts that you and I have when we have time to go back and watch the game. Friday, right? We're in here late night Thursday, back Friday. We give...
I hadn't watched the All-22 at that point.
Right, and, that initial download of all of our thoughts on the game, but now we've had time to rewatch it, to rethink it, to dissect it. I've got two observations for you on each side of the ball.
Okay.
So for my kind of Monday rewind, 2 offensive thoughts, 2 defensive thoughts.
I bet the offensive ones are good and the defensive ones might not be.
Yeah, I would say one of the offensive ones is very good. The second is encouraging.
Okay.
You want to start there?
Let's keep everyone
start with some sunshine
cheery,
and rainbows here
absolutely.
on
the
this
offense was
Monday
pretty good.
afternoon. And let's start with I think one of the biggest takeaways of that game, if you're looking from a positivity or a glass half full standpoint, I thought Jaylen Warren played really well.
That would be on my list, too.
Breaking tackles, running hard. He's fast. He's twitchy. He's tough to bring down. He's very good in pass protection as well, too.
Highly accomplished receiver. But he was phenomenal.
I thought he was going back and rewatching it. I thought Jaylen Warren was exceptional. I thought he played really well.
So before we get too far into the sunshine and rainbow things, Bengals defense is really bad. So I think all of our listeners know that. We said that going in. Watching this game, I don't think all of a sudden, their defense is fine. No, it's bad. But they're also professionals, and Jaylen wasn't great because they stunk. You know what I mean? And I think that a lot of that's true for when the Steelers had the ball. Freiermuth, Rodgers, line, wherever we want to talk about. But yeah, I'm glad you started with him because just his individual effort and achievement that night was really, really strong. Really strong. And
if you play the 7 or 8 minute just Jaylen Warren cut up of that game, you're like, that guy looked like one of the best running backs in the league.
Exactly. He looks like the top guys and had one of the best games of any running back in the league. One of mine would be to kind of piggyback off that, which I also think is encouraging and a little overdue, but we've seen more and more of it really since the Anderson edition, 74 is eligible. The run game's also getting a lot more diverse.
Okay.
I mean, they're running a wider variety of plays with
it's not just the outside zone run that we've been talking about at the beginning of the
season. That was part of the problem early on, is it was predictable, and that's a hard run in itself, because if anyone's wrong, you're wrong. It's everyone has to work in unison, and there's a lot of communication and a lot of continuity needed, and it takes a long time for it to get going. And once it does, it's beautiful. But in the meantime, partially by inserting Anderson, you're having a variety of runs. And I think Warren runs them all really, really well too,
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
And he's a good receiving back.
Yeah,
he is, I think, a great pass protection back, especially compared to that's an area that it feels like is down across the board across the NFL.
Protection.
Running backs and pass protection.
Yeah.
He's got to be on the short list of the best doing that right now in the National Football League. So that was kind
Real
of
quick,
my
I wanted to run something by you
first
because of your
takeaway.
college background. I don't know that we've had this conversation, but like this rookie running back class.
I think I know where you're going.
Okay, we
with
might
this.
have even talked to it way back in draft time.
Maybe
or
like at the
camp.
combine when you and Dale and Moats and I would do like crossover hours and stuff.
And Caleb Johnson's a great example because the Steelers drafted one of these backs, but it was considered, and I didn't disagree at the time, a great running back class. There was a lot of them drafted, a lot drafted pretty high. You got guys with like third, second round grades in the fourth, fifth round because of the depth of it. Had some star power at the top with Genty. But really, almost all those guys, their scouting report coming out was big questions about protection. And weirdly, one of the only guys that really checked that box was Travion Henderson, and he's really struggled since he's gotten the league in protection. So nobody's really excelled in protection. I haven't studied every one of them every snap, but this rookie class. And I'm wondering, with your college background, do you think that could be a trend? Because these coaches can't coach, Saban can't grind it into them, or he's going to transfer, or they're getting paid.
1,000%.
Okay. So this is going to keep coming.
This is going for a lot of the reasons that you just mentioned. Plus, I think just across the board, college football teams are going more and more. Like, there was the spread era of the turn of the 21st century, right? Everything in football is cyclical and it comes back around.
Mm-hmm.
I think we saw that to an extent a few years ago, but I think now there's this weird where it went from spread kind of back to pro style, and now it's not going back to spread in college football, but it is much more everybody has a stud quarterback. With the transfer portal, most of these, it
has to be changing things at such a rapid rate. The money.
The 60 some Power 4 college football programs. So I think there's 68 or 69 programs in the SEC, the Big 10, the ACC, and the Big 12. The 4 power conferences. There's like 68 or 69 programs. There's no excuse for them to be dreadful at quarterback now. Maybe if you are for a year, okay, you missed on some evaluations, whatever. But then go get JMU's quarterback. Go get Kent State's quarterback. Go get UTEP's quarterback.
Because someone in that division, every division has a best guy.
Exactly right.
Still Duquesne. Whatever.
Go get Ohio's quarterback. Not Ohio State, Ohio U. Parker Navarro. He's actually very good. Carved up my Mountaineers back in September.
Super quick, and this was true when I recruited. Finding quarterbacks in the recruiting world isn't nearly as hard as like defensive tackles. There's a lot of people walking the planet that look like a quarterback. There's not many people that are 6'5", 300 pounds.
Especially at the collegiate level where now these guys rely on their legs.
Yeah.
That's one thing that has really mirrored the pros. It used to be the pro-style college football quarterbacks, right? The Andrew Lucks.
Mm-hmm.
And then the spread-style college football quarterbacks, the Marcus Mariotas.
Okay.
Now that's kind of blending of those skill sets.
We want all of it.
We want all of it.
Because we can get it.
Exactly right. Even guys like Fernando Mendoza, who we talk about all the time, that's more of a traditional, he'll still pull it down and take the 8 or 9 yards that
Nobody
you give
can
him.
be a stiff.
No one can be a stiff anymore. I think part of that with the mobility quarterback element has played into this as well. So I think you're spot on. It reminds me, Matt, it really started back when the Steelers drafted Jalen Samuels. You remember him out of NC State? And I remember a lot of things there.
Do-it-all guy,
Do-it-all guy at NC State. But I remember when he got drafted, and we do this, I'm sure the listeners who have listened for a long time know this. We do our draft coverage from down on the south side at the Steelers facility.
Right.
And it's kind of like the Steelers take a running back. 10 minutes later, here comes Eddie Faulkner to sit down with us for 10 minutes and talk about what they liked in that running back. They go to the
podium, and then they come
Here's
talk
what we
to
liked
us
about Caleb Johnson. You know what I mean? Here's why we drafted him. Here's how he fits our offense. And then a lot of times what's cool is the next day when those guys fly into Pittsburgh, they'll sit down with it.
Right.
Steelers draft Joey Porter Jr.
He drove in
that
a couple minutes ago.
He's up 20 minutes in Wexford, but we get to sit down with these guys for a few minutes too. I'll never forget Jalen Samuels sat down with us. And I mean, I don't even remember if I was on air, you and Deo, whatever the case may be.
Yeah,
this was 6
I know
years.
I was on.
You're on the whole time.
That I'm sure of.
You're like the best player, Jake, on my beer league hockey team. He doesn't leave the ice for our 60-minute game. That's you during the draft. Jalen Samuels sits down and he said something along the lines to us. We said you played a lot of running back, H-back, some tight end.
Yeah, he
stuff.
actually did tight end drills at the combine. Yeah,
and he mentioned I never once passed pro at NC State.
I remember that now.
Never once.
Yeah, never once.
They asked me to pass protect.
He was one of their best
backfield.
pass catchers.
He was one of the best pass catcher
running backs. And he was versatile, and he's a big back.
Versatile,
kind
fast.
of a fullback. Right.
He said, I never did pass pro at NC State.
Yeah.
And I remember all of us kind of being like,
uh-oh.
That's something. Backs on backers is going to be interesting with this
guy.
A couple months from now when we get to Latrobe.
I'm going to rewind one second real quick, too.
Yeah.
You were talking about how everyone is quarterbacks now, and I hadn't thought about that from the college level. Because you can go pluck them from a college less than you.
Look at Pitt here. I mean, Pitt's had like 5 different quarterbacks in the last 6 years starting.
Yeah. Maybe they actually have one now.
Phil Jurkovec doesn't work. Get him out of here.
Right.
Eli Holstein doesn't work. Get him out of here.
But not only can you pluck them from lesser programs than you, but I'm watching that game last night, the Niner game, and they show a picture of in Bama colors smoking cigars. It must have been after the Tennessee game. That's
the tradition. When those two teams play, the winning team gets cigars.
And Mac. And it's like, not all three would ever still be there.
No chance.
I mean, no chance.
No chance.
That one of them will go down a level or go to Auburn.
Or they might go down a level for a year, kill it, and then wind up at Florida State.
Right.
Yeah.
There's no way the three of them are sitting there waiting for each other either.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I think the only place that still gets away with that is the wide receiver room at Ohio State manages to stay loaded because they just have such a reputation.
All you got to do is start 1 year.
All you got to do is start 1 year and you're a first-round pick. But
you used to recruit.
Other than that, it's even more difficult for Alabamas and Georgias of the world to build depth because, you might pay me a little bit more than this ACC or Big 12 school, but I don't care. I want to go start. I want to go play.
Quarterback in my second year.
Exactly right.
Maybe a true freshman lives with that, but right.
So when Jalen Samuels was coming to Pittsburgh, Matt, it was kind of an eyebrow raiser. This guy's never pass pro'd. But it also made a little bit of sense at the time. You had Ben Roethlisberger still. That was the year coming up that he had the major elbow surgery.
Okay.
But he was coming off a 5,000-yard passing season where him and AB and Juju lit it up.
He was older, but there was no reason to worry about.
Just had one of the top 5 seasons of his career. Okay, AB was gone. You traded him to the Raiders that offseason. But everybody was crazy high on Juju. Had over 1,000 yards his rookie season at that point. James Conner was coming off of his first real crack at it where he made the Pro Bowl, filling in for Lev Bell, who sat out that entire
young skill
year.
Guys.
So it was like, okay, they just drafted a running back who never passed pros, but James Conner's not afraid to stick his face in the fan.
No.
They got Juju. They got some other young pieces. They're going to still throw the football like crazy. It made some sense in that context. Now, I think that is not to that extent where a guy's going to sit down with us and be like, I never did any pass pro. But you reference Caleb Johnson. He did very little of it in his time at Iowa.
They never threw, and they probably wanted him flaring out because he's one of the best guys with the ball in his hands. Right.
Exactly right.
But you mentioned Ohio State receivers. Well, those two backs pass pro'd because they didn't need them.
Exactly.
We don't need you guys to catch passes.
We're going to throw to Emeka Ibuka and Jeremiah Smith and all these.
We get 5-star tight ends, I'm sure, that we never throw to anyway.
Exactly right. Exactly right. So there is, again, it's cyclical at every level. And that is, I think you are spot on. That is a real thing in college football now.
So we should get used to bad protectors coming in the league, I think.
I mean,
that's going to be at least a short-term trend.
I think so.
Totally adds up.
Or just maybe not even bad, but just guys who are have very little experience, very little spin in that regard.
Totally adds up.
But that's why I think the value, to kind of get back to where we started, the value of Jaylen Warren is immense, and it was on display Thursday night.
Yeah, and I've been calling for I pat myself in the back here. Pretty much for 6 months, I'd been saying I would extend this guy, and I haven't heard many other analysts even mentioning that. I'm like, I'm not big on giving running back second contracts. It usually doesn't work out great, but his situation was very unique. You got him at a somewhat of a discount because he hasn't made a ton of money. But if he were to hit the open market off after the season, how he's playing and how he's played really every step of his career, he would make way more than he does now.
Absolutely.
Way more. I mean,
I think he'd make way more than Najee got on the open market.
Yeah. Not even close.
Not even close.
Right. I'm not saying to make Saquon money, but he'd make a lot.
Absolutely.
There'd be 4 teams competing for him. You know?
Absolutely. I think you are spot on there. And again, I think his value has been on display all season, but especially Thursday night.
He was phenomenal.
He was great. He was outstanding. Let's take a break here. It
was also the healthiest and the most action he's gotten.
I think a lot of things. And again, against it's still an NFL defense. It's not Ohio State against Akron, but it is an encouraging
those guys.
Encouraging. He did exactly what you wanted to see him do on Thursday night. Few more Monday Rewind observations as we roll along here. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson. It's The Drive on Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Continuing with our Monday Rewind here, some, second watch observations from Bengals 33, Steelers 31 on Thursday night. We'll stick with the offense here before we transition to the defense. Matt,
right.
Roman Wilson, nice to see you.
Yeah.
I mean, he was clearly wide receiver number 2. And
that's my biggest takeaway. They trusted him to be the 2.
Scotty Miller's snap count was way down, single digits, I believe.
I think Skoranek was at like 2 as well.
Single digits as well, whereas Roman Wilson was like 33, 34.
It was a big jump. Like Metcalf only missed 1 snap, and they didn't play a ton of 2 receiver. They didn't play much 2 receiver sets. Sure. But if there was a second receiver out there,
played
it was
a lot,
almost always Wilson.
All the tight ends played a lot. They attacked.
Anderson.
They attacked with those guys. I know you had some really good middle of the field stats from the offense, but it was noticeable. Roman Wilson was out there, and Matt, not just in we trust you in run blocking, and we think you're pretty good in that department. I mean, he was running routes as well too.
Yeah.
30-some snaps, and I think like 18 or 19 routes ran, I want to say. Felt like it was a encouraging step in the right direction. Again, can he be a regular part of this offense? How much can he contribute? All those things remain to be seen.
Yeah.
But you need to at least have that level of getting out on the field and that trust factor, and you need to get some spin out there to get to a point that we are all hopeful that he can get to, and I thought that was a step in the right direction.
Yes. Now, a couple things, not all of them are going to be positive. I think that it's a step in the right direction that they don't look at him as only a slot as a third receiver. He lined up often outside the numbers in 2 receiver sets because there was hardly ever 3 receiver sets because they played so much tight end stuff. And we mentioned the other receivers not getting a lot. And he made some catches. He made some plays, some in-breaking routes. He looked the part as a pass catcher and a route runner. So, again, these are all positives. My concern isn't with him, and the wide receiver trade talk's going to keep heating up.
No doubt.
That's the way.
As it probably should.
As it should, and I got no problem with that. We could do a whole segment on it at some point. Whatever.
And then you get Calvin Austin back, you start to feel really good about that.
Yeah. But I wonder, are they sitting there? Internally, are they going, man, we really need to trade for a receiver because everything we try isn't good enough, including Roman. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like we put Miller out there a bunch, and it didn't really change the game much. Putting Wilson out there, at least we'll give him a crack. Like, are they taking? Is Wilson getting a chance by default rather than, he's clearly the best guy?
I think that's a fair question to
and
ask.
I don't think we know the answer. They'll never tell us.
Yeah,
right.
And maybe it's a little bit of both at this time.
Yeah, and maybe that was step 1 towards, I am better than the other guys,
Or maybe it was step 1 towards them all looking at each other in a meeting room and going, all right, we got to get aggressive in the trade market.
We have to trade somebody, right? Yeah.
I think it's certainly one of those, like, you come into a Y in the road. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You go left and you live with what you got, or you go, door number 2 and you go out and you bring somebody in.
If they trade for Rashid Shaheed tomorrow, I think we'll know the answer.
Exactly right. Jacoby Myers is a Steeler this week, right?
Right.
I think we'll get and I think either way we'll get that answer.
Right.
Might be sooner rather than later. We might have to wait another week or two, but I do think
And I don't know if
we will
Austin's
get that
due
answer.
back Sunday or not, but he can't be too far off. They didn't put him on IR.
I was going to say, didn't put him on IR, so I would agree with
Long
you.
week,
Look and see if he gets maybe they active. Well, I guess never mind. They wouldn't have to activate him. That would be if he was coming off of IR, but we'll see what his usage looks like here as we get a little bit into this week.
But that's a good one. I mean, I think that's definitely a positive for him, and you probably get a million tweets of Roman Wilson a bust. Why is he never out there? I'm like, well, he was out there this time.
He was, and again, that doesn't mean that they're satisfied, any of that stuff.
Sure.
But you at least needed to see the step in this direction, I think, to really start to be able to make that decision, make that judgment. All right, Matt. So those are the 2 offensive ones, and both the Jalen Warren certainly, and that Roman Wilson too. I would say on the more positive side of things. Let's flip to the defense. And a little bit more the negative side of things here.
So I'm going to use this example super quick because I just recorded Peacock and Williamson, our national podcast. And as you would guess, my co-host Peacock, he's on the West Coast.
Niners guy, right?
Niners guy. He watches every game like we do. But the Thursday nighter, he had something family related. He only watched like the first quarter. And he immediately asked me today because we couldn't record a show Friday. So it's the first time we've broken down Steelers Bengals.
Gotcha.
And he opens it up by, Matt, I only watched the first quarter, and I thought this game was going to be 52-0 the Steelers. He's like, how can a team on both sides of the ball dominate the trenches the way they did? And remember, he only saw the first quarter and still lose this game. I'm like, the clock struck midnight when the second quarter showed up, or something, or a potion fell on the stadium or something. I don't know what happened. But as soon as the second quarter showed up,
into a pumpkin.
It was like all of a sudden the whole defense was tired on a short week and didn't want to be there and just got pushed around. Like, it was from that. It's weird that you only watched the first quarter because that's when everything changed.
If you only watched the first quarter, you would have thought
this team's awesome.
You would have thought the Steelers are going to win this game like they did against Cleveland,
right,
23-9 or 30-13, something like that.
He started with like the D lines just whipping them. I'm like, yeah.
If you only watched the second quarter, you probably thought the Steelers lost 50-10.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly a tale of 2 quarters there. And so, let's get into some of this not so great. Let's talk bigger picture first. It just continues to be obvious, whether you look at the time of possession, whether you look at the snap counts, that this defense is on the field too much.
The time of possession is getting worse.
That doesn't excuse their performance.
No.
But there is some
but
rhyme.
It's going to be a huge problem.
There's some rhyme to that reason. Matt, why is that, and how do they get that moving in the right direction?
I know.
It was like 20 snaps more for the defense than the offense. Again, this is something
over and over. Even when they're winning and on winning streaks. And
I mean, basically,
they're at like 26 minutes of time possession for the year.
It got skewed a little bit at the end of that Browns game. So
there's some weird stuff.
I'll give them that.
Yeah.
Because for 80-85% of that Browns game, the time of possession and the snap counts were well in your favor. And then it skewed a little bit at the end.
Yeah.
But other than that, Matt, this is like something that we've been talking about.
Season-long problem.
Every week.
Yeah, every week.
Even when they're winning, even when they were sitting at 4-1, this was still something that felt like it could bite you at some point. Your defense can't be playing 20 more snaps than your offense every week.
And we always talk about, like when you go to the doctor, like, I got this rash. Well, what have you been eating? What do you try different dryer sheets or whatever, But it's on both sides of the ball. I mean, they haven't run the ball well enough and getting enough first downs and eat clock. Because one thing about Rodgers' career, and it still holds true with the Steelers, is he helps time of possession more than a lot of quarterbacks.
He takes his time.
Because he takes his time. He comes to the line of scrimmage, clock's ticking. He's going to survey things. Yes, he can play hurry up like any great quarterback, but more often than not, he eats a lot of clock.
He wants to see what the defense is trying to do.
That's just his style.
Make them show their, play chicken and be the last one to blink.
Yeah. But a big thing with the defense, though, they're just giving up too much yards. I mean, they flat out are. Like a lot of their drives, per drive stats are poor. I mean, especially like yards per drive, and they probably got a lot worse. These are things I do Tuesday after every team played, and I'm sure they got worse. But they're not too reliant because they're great at it. But the good things are the splash things, the takeaways, the sacks, the batted passes, the forced fumbles, and they're tremendous at it. But when you didn't get them, you see that, man, you guys are on the field a lot, and on a down-by-down basis, you're not playing well enough. I mean, it's kind of more so than I blame the offense. At least the offense started running the ball and, kind of did their share. But play-by-play, it's like, man, you're still allowing this team to get first downs.
Yes, way too many missed tackles in this game. We had talked about how against Minnesota and Cleveland, it felt like that was moving in the right direction.
Much better, right?
Much better. After a rocky start, that reared its ugly head again on Thursday night, certainly.
And it's such an avalanche, too, because if you're bad at that and you don't get better, well, you're going to be on the field even more, and then you're going to be on the field even more, and then you get more tired, and then you're going to miss an extra tackle. And I'm not excusing it, but you see it a lot on the road on a Thursday night. So if that's only one, I wouldn't be super critical of it. Like, all right, okay. But it's been a theme.
It certainly has.
Yeah.
And not a good theme.
No.
A discouraging one, in fact. And with that, Matt, one thing that confused me, and I have not been the first person to raise this point in the last few days since that game on Thursday night, but when you go back and watch it, it really stands out. You, I know, mentioned this even on Friday before we had a chance to do our rewind, our rewatch here. There was a lot of wailing and moaning and gnashing of teeth and pulling hair out about Jamar Chase and T. Higgins.
Yeah.
And why didn't they try something different? And you kind of pointed out they did. I mean, they lined up different guys on them. They tried different
Everybody
coverages.
Got beat by them.
Everybody got beat.
Yeah.
It wasn't just Ramsey. It wasn't just Slay. It wasn't just Eccles. It wasn't just Deshaun Elliott,
Sometimes Michael Jordan gets his against no matter who guards him. I mean,
sometimes
I felt like Chase was Michael Jordan.
Sometimes you could play the perfect, neutral zone trap, and Lemieux will still have a hat trick.
Yeah.
But one thing that it felt like, and this correlates with how quickly Joe Flacco was getting rid of the football.
I know where you're going. I have the same complaint.
And again, I'm not Neil Armstrong landing on the moon here. A lot of people have been talking about this the last couple days. But when your pass rush is struggling to get home and the quarterback is getting rid of the ball so early, why don't you get up on someone's face, get in someone's grill, some press man coverage, get your hands on these guys, and make Joe Flacco have to tap the ball for an extra half second?
There's many different ways to play man coverage. There's many different ways.
I think that's a misnomer.
Right.
You could play man coverage but still be off the ball.
Oh, yeah, right. I mean, you can play press, you can play mirror match, you can play off, and it's still my guy. It's man coverage. So I saw a lot of man coverage, but I hardly saw any press man coverage.
That was the confusing part to
which
me.
I don't care at all if the game starts that way. Oh, I didn't think they would be getting out there, getting it out of his hands in 2.4 seconds, which is Aaron Rodgers fast, But when that's a theme and they're just ripping you apart, like some of the Chase numbers, all the numbers are awesome, obviously. I mean, it's fantasy stats and his catches and targets and all that.
It'll be one of the best performances a wide receiver has all season.
He was phenomenal.
Yeah.
But his average depth of target was really short, and it wasn't like they had a hard time tackling him. I mean, it wasn't great, but they weren't like he hit it like the Metcalf Minnesota game.
Yes.
I mean, that's not where the stats came from.
He didn't take a 6-yard reception and turn it into an 80-yard touchdown.
Yeah. I mean, it was
he also
like
wasn't Randy Mossing people down the field.
Right.
But
it was like you were giving Jordan layups. Like you didn't even make Curry shoot from half court. You know what I mean? Like, yes, he's awesome and he's going to take advantage of it.
And you're giving him an open jump shot from the corner.
And I referenced the podcast I did today. I didn't even hear this post game. Maybe you did. But when they interviewed Flacco, he basically said, I don't know the playbook. I just threw it to the really good guy that was open all the time. Like we're playing in the backyard. Like I'm going to draft that kid first. He's the best kid at recess. And I'm going to throw it to him every time, and he happens to be open all the time. Like, I don't know the plays. Who would even draw him up?
Yeah.
Like, that can't happen.
No, it cannot.
And to expand on it, I mean, it doesn't reflect well on coaching, clearly. But a lot of their runs, and I noticed this when I watched the All-22, but John Ledyard, who I've referenced, I think he does really good work.
Yeah.
He
formerly of this parish.
Yeah. He broke down on YouTube, I think it was 8 of Brown's big runs. Okay. And they were like 9-yarders, 10-yarders, but every one of them on the breakdown he did was on purpose. Was Flacco came to the line and basically pointed at the B gap or the C gap or whatever and said, we're going to run there. And the Steelers didn't even win the gap. Like, I don't know if it was an alignment error. I don't know if it was coaching errors, but it happened more than once. Who cares? Someone lines up wrong or
it's going to happen over the course of 70-something snaps.
And there were one or two of those where someone motioned and they're in the middle of talking and the ball gets snapped and you don't get your gap. That happens every game. Okay. But this was 5 to 8 alignment. There's no one in the B gap, and there don't see any linebackers that are getting ready to fill, and they didn't. And thank the Lord for Elliott. Elliott made every one of those plays. I mean, he comes 7, 8, 10 yards.
Or it's a 30, 40-yard run.
Right, and he smashes Brown and played tremendous against the run, but he's on the third level, I mean, or somewhere between the second and third level.
It's not the guy you want making the tackle, despite how good he is at it. That's not the guy you want making the tackle.
It was not his B gap, and they're just running. It's smart quarterbacking. Rodgers would have done the same thing. Like, we're going to adjust to run right at this bubble where there's nobody at, and there wasn't it almost looked like there was no one assigned to it.
Yeah, I think that's very well said, and that is again, like you said, fooled me once. Okay. It's 70-some snaps a game. You're not going to be perfectly aligned and ready on every single one. Once or twice, all right. 5, 6, 7, 8 times, unacceptable, can't happen.
And again, I'm not making excuses, but it also looks like fatigue. Like you make more mental errors when you're on and this
fatigue makes cowards of us all, right?
Absolutely.
That's the old saying.
And why was the first quarter good, and then all of a sudden the second quarter and on it wasn't? Nobody ran to the ball as much as they had the last couple games. They didn't tackle as well. They weren't as mentally sharp. They didn't play with the same energy. And I think that's twofold why. It's not Tomlin should run them after practice and run the steps and kill them, and no one's in good shape. They've been on the field too much this year already, and they played a short game on the road. Now, if I see it Sunday night after you have 10 days rest at home, Sunday night, Rodgers versus the Packers, now I'm really going to – now it's like I'm waving a red flag.
It's like DEFCON 5 or whatever.
Yeah. But if you're seeing the same stuff or lack of fatigue looks like an issue unless it's, you're 80 plays in and late in the fourth quarter.
Exactly right.
Like Giants-Broncos.
Exactly right.
I mean, the league does that all the time. The dam just breaks and the defense can't keep up anymore. But this was too early for that. Way too early.
Way too early.
Way too early. All right.
Matt, one more thing that I want to rewind, want to run past you. We'll do that on the other side to close down the first hour, and then we will lead off with Rob King in hour number 2. So plenty more to get to. We will go around the league in the second hour and talk about a crazy Sunday across the NFL as well. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson, it's The Drive on Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Our buddy Rob King going to join us about 5 or 6 minutes from now. Before we get to that, one last thing that I want to run past you, Matthew.
I got something too.
Okay, sounds good. You want to go first? You want me to go first?
Yeah, because
maybe we'll be aligned here. Maybe it'll be the same thing.
I don't know that we will because pull the curtain back. You were using the potty, between segments. I'm chatting with TV here a little bit, and just kind of off the record.
Hey, you really are pulling the curtain
back.
Right.
Right. Just a little tinkle, and I should have said this too. And this isn't like me going back being harsh on the defensive staff or whatever. My bet from a head coaching perspective is, well, why didn't you press? Why didn't you put extra guys in the box to defend the run? Was probably we look at this game knowing Bengals defense stinks and they can't stop us. So the thing we can't allow is the 80-yarder over the top.
Sure.
So if Flacco, who's straight off the couch, is new to this team and nickels and dimes us to death to make this a competitive game, so be it. You can't take everything away.
There's no perfect defense or
everybody
would run it.
There's no perfect defense, and we are tackling the catch, and we are making them sustain long drives, and they get paid too. They did it. But I bet that was the logic afterwards was we would have loved to see them walk down and press. And maybe that would have worked better. Maybe they'd have won. I'd love to see them cover every gap a little bit better in the run game. 100%. And some of those were just probably mental errors and or coaching problems or alignment issues or whatever. But I also bet going into that game and through the game, which held up, was we know we're going to let up points, but we're going to get more of them because they can't stop us at all.
Yeah.
And
they had 31 points.
And it's so weird to have that philosophy because since the year you're talking about with Ben lighting the world on fire, you've never had an offense where you actually think that. It's always like, we can't allow 20 points.
Correct.
Well, you can allow 20 points in that game.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
You could have allowed 30 points in that game and still won.
Yeah, right. It's like, okay, we know we'll give a point.
That's a good point.
And if we just can't allow the 80-yarder, the home run over the top.
Exactly. Like
Joe's going to throw it.
We'll do the gunfight thing with them, and we'll shoot them more than they'll shoot us.
Yeah.
Like we'll hit them more than they hit us.
And I bet that's the logic behind it, that the coaches can't tell
Which
you.
Which wasn't terrible logic.
No, it's not.
But as you said, it obviously did not work.
Did not work.
Yeah.
Right. In the end, you were short.
And with that, Matt, I guess my kind of final thing does piggyback off that a little bit. I know I've said this to you before. I've said this many times on this network on different shows. I have to remind myself all the time that that X is not a real place.
Yeah, right.
Okay,
right.
It's 50% anonymous people who don't even have their real name and picture
even the
on there.
comment section is a little,
and it's where people
fanciful.
go to get angry.
Yeah.
It's why I always hesitate when you read a restaurant review on Google or on Yelp or whatever, or a review about a landscaping company, because it's like the only people that get online to voice their opinion are people that are ticked off.
Yeah.
Like that's people don't get online to be like, man, that restaurant was amazing, best chicken parm I ever had. It was like the waiter was a jerk and my pasta was cold. You know.
And if they are good, it's probably because it's their mother or something.
Exactly right. Exactly right. But a lot of people were crushing Slay and saying, he's old and he's lost a step and it really showed. And I don't want to make it seem like I'm saying he had a good game. He did not.
No, he didn't.
But is that a one-off against two
absolute
studs in Higgins and Chase, or is there more cause for concern there?
More cause for concern. Not like, oh, he's shot, he stinks, terrible signing. I mean, it's not, frankly, Patrick Peterson at the same age, who had an amazing career, but at the end, it's ugly. But along the Peterson lines, corners that age rarely age gracefully.
Yeah.
And he has not
fallen off. It's a young man's position in a young man's game.
And it's so reactionary. And even if you know every trick of the trade, there's times you've got to open up and run or flip your hips or be an athlete or change direction. And if your old man body doesn't do it like he used to, well, you're in trouble.
Sure. There's not a lot of 37, 38-year-old Cam Haywards at that position still doing it at a high level.
I mean, over 30 is a red flag, and I think he's 33.
I think you are correct.
Yeah, and he came off a good year with the Eagles, but they also had a great pass rush, and they had other things going their way. And I didn't object to the signing, but at this stage of the season, I'm starting to worry and would consider for the first time playing Eccles over him. Like if you have three corners on the field, because Eccles is pretty good.
That too.
That's part of it too, right?
There,
it's not like how the corner room has been in other years. It's like we don't got anybody. Right. So in this case, I'm not sure he's one of your best three corners.
I think that's a fair question to ask at this point. It's the Eccles. It's good to have that kind of that guy off the bench.
Mm-hmm.
That guy in your bullpen.
Yeah,
if
one
you will.
extra, right?
That's a position group that you would really like to have one extra at, and it feels like the Steelers do. But that's something that I'm sure if he were sitting here with us, he would tell you I didn't play a good game on Thursday night in Cincinnati.
Ramsey will tell you that. Porter will tell you that. I mean, the corners.
And again, I'm not saying it's DEFCON with him either, but I'm leaning a little bit more towards there's some cause for concern there as opposed to it was just a one-off against a pair of great wide receivers.
Yeah, and they were great. I mean, I can't state that enough.
They were great and they are great.
I'm sure there was a night where Michael Jordan put up 70 points.
And had the best defender in the league on him.
And I'm saying we weren't talking about because he was just roasting everybody they put on him. He's dunking on the 7-footers. He's going past the 6-footers that are supposed to be quicker that he's dunking, beating everybody in front of him because he was the best player on the field.
Yeah.
Chase was the best player on the field.
And maybe that stuff again too, when you're on a short week, and
I think everything gets magnified.
If you're 27 years old, you can get over that a little bit easier than if you're 33 years old.
That's probably the worst environment you could ask
Totally.
of Slay. It definitely is. Against those receivers on the road in the short week, definitely.
I'm with you on that, 100%. That's an hour in the books. Hour number 2, we'll talk to Rob King. We'll go around the league.
Yep.
And we've got another doubleheader of Monday Night Football games to discuss and preview. Late one tonight. So plenty to get to in hour number 2. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson, halfway home. It's The Drive on Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Hour number 2 on The Drive here as the afternoon turns into the evening. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. And joining us now is the voice of your Pittsburgh Steelers, Rob King. He also hosts In the Locker Room here on this same network every single morning with our buddy Max Starks. Kinger, plenty that we want to discuss with you. So let's jump right into it. Matt and I spent a chunky portion of the first hour talking about this defense and particularly that performance on Thursday night. And maybe was there a little bit of a chicken or an egg type situation? They were good in the first quarter. They looked sharp in the first quarter, and then it all kind of unraveled. And they were facing 2 very good wide receivers, 2 of the best in the league. But they're also a defense that was playing on a short week, on the road, playing a lot of snaps, in a unit that has played a lot of snaps lately. How much of Thursday night's performance will you? I don't even want to say excuse.
I say excuse isn't the right word.
It's the wrong word.
Excuses,
because we all know it wasn't good enough, and in the NFL,
right. They're not the only team that's played a road game on a Thursday.
They're not the only team. If it's a Tuesday during COVID, it doesn't matter. Both teams are playing. If it's 3 games in 11 days or whatever it was that the Steelers had last year, no one is playing the tiny violin for you. But Kinger,
how much? Matters.
But it certainly matters.
Yes.
How much?
That's right.
How much of that could you view as hopefully that's just a potential one-off in a weird, tough spot versus just the backdrop of we know the time of possession hasn't been good. This defense has played way too many snaps. Are they getting worn down too early in the season?
Yeah, I don't think it should be worn down yet. I mean, I think you can be worn down in the confines of the game. I don't know if they're worn down for the course of the season. So a couple of things. There's a lot there. There's no real easy answer. Mm-hmm. Matt had a great, or no simple answer. Matt had a great tweet. Matt, you retweeted it. I encourage everybody, by the way, in the locker room to follow Matt Williamson for nuggets like this one about the AFC North road records on Thursday. Everybody's got a good record at home. Everybody's got a lousy record on the road.
The whole division.
It's a real thing. Yeah, it matters. It does make a difference. Now, I will say this. At one point in the game, I was thinking to myself, hey, man, the Steelers are on the cusp of maybe blowing this thing open and making the Bengals one-dimensional. The aborted flea flicker cost them some points, I think. I think it was 2nd and 4. Get the first down there, get into field goal range at least. They have a touchdown call back. What I thought was a little bit of a let that go holding penalty on Zach Frazier, and then the tush push that went awry. In my mind, I'm thinking they could be up 17-0 and forcing this team to be one-dimensional. So that didn't happen. Now let's look at things from the Bengals' perspective. All those drop passes on the first couple drives. The Bengals just stopped themselves. Josevich caught a pass later in the game. He had 3 drops against Green Bay that were extremely costly. That cost the Bengals at least a chance to be in that game. When he caught one, I think it was in the third quarter, he got the Bronx cheer from the crowd.
He did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, so this, if you're looking at this from the Bengals perspective, you're like, look, man, they didn't stop us. We stopped ourselves, or we could have scored 40 points in this game. I think all of those viewpoints are relevant. What happened. What shocked me was not that Joe Flacco could move the ball. I wasn't sure he was the right choice for the Bengals. I was told he was the only choice. He was the only guy they wanted. They don't want to put another, especially one in which Joe Burrow might be coming back. And, we saw in the second half of the game against Green Bay that he kind of unlocked what was capable in that offense. And then we saw it on full display on Thursday night. But what bothered me was that the Bengals did whatever they wanted. You didn't take anything away. And that, I think, is a little bit troublesome. You know, when the Jets wanted to run, you couldn't take that away. When the Bengals wanted to run, they ran. When they wanted to throw, they threw. So short week or no short week, I think that's something, especially with the personnel the Steelers have. The Steelers have plenty of personnel, in my opinion, to be a top-notch defense. They showed it for a couple of weeks that they had that capability. I don't know if we've seen it completely for 60 minutes, maybe against the Browns. I would say, yeah, against the Browns. We did see it for 60 minutes. We saw it for about 55 minutes against the Vikings. I just think that it's, you know, it was bothersome to see that, but it's also another step on the way to the journey. I mean, I don't know what to think about the NFL this year. I don't remember being at this point in the season where I thought there were no super teams, a lot of teams capable of being that team that can represent you in the Super Bowl. You know, I was talking with Wes, Matt, 1 through 20 power rankings by one of them. We look at the Athletic and ESPN and a couple other ones. One was the Buccaneers, 20 was Houston. If you told me right now those teams are going to play in the Super Bowl, I'd be like, okay, that doesn't sound out of the realm of
I could buy
possibility.
It. Right.
And they're 1 and 20. And then, so there's lots of teams in between. And by the way, Baltimore wasn't in that list. Cincinnati wasn't in that list. I think those teams are going to be factors down the stretch. I just think it is just a crazy season in the NFL. That's the global picture. The smaller picture is the fact that the Bengals kind of were able to dictate to the Steelers. That was a problem. At some point, lead or no lead, you need to be able to stop something and dictate to the other team. The Steelers just weren't able to do that on Thursday night.
Yeah, you said a lot of good stuff there, and I'm going to piggyback on it. And Wes, we'll talk about this more in this next segment, but just globally, I know who the terrible teams are. And boy, did this weekend show 5 or 6 teams that are flat out embarrassing. And I know the Bengals and Steelers aren't one of them, but I don't know who the good teams are yet. I mean, that could be one of 20 or 22 teams. I think that's 100% true. And then Friday, the day after the game, we were in here doing the show, and I said, hey, it's far from great that Higgins and especially Chase just lit you up. But sometimes Jordan goes for 60. You know what I mean? Like, Chase was the best player on the field, but to me, the sin was allowing Chase Brown to have as many big holes as he did. You know, at least take something away to what you were saying before. And Wes and I really talked about this a lot in the first hour, you know, a lot more time to reflect. I'd watched the All-22. And by no means am I saying this is okay, because what the defense did on Thursday night was not okay. It was not okay. But I think from a global head coaching perspective, you know, Wes and I were saying, how about more press coverage? How about putting someone closer to line of scrimmage to stop the run? We didn't see a lot of those things. They made adjustments, but they didn't do a lot of those things. And then as we're talking through it, I kind of ended last segment going, I kind of get it. Again, it was not okay, but if I'm Tomlin, I'm sitting there thinking, my offense is running all over the field on this bad defense. If I allow points in this game, so be it. And if they have to have long, sustained drives, eventually they're going to have a holding penalty, or my defense is going to pick one off, or we're going to have a strip sack, as we always do, or a batted pass, and something good's getting, you know, we're going to make a big play on defense, because we always do, and we're the best team in the league at it. I know I'm rambling, but I think in the end, the philosophy was, let's make them sustain long drives and just don't get beat over the top, because we know we're going to drop 30 on these guys. And that's such a different philosophy than Duck, Trubisky, Russell Wilson. You know, like, we can allow them to get to 20 or even 30 in this game because our offense is humming against a bad defense.
Again, so much. I mean, I'm going to drive right into the studio and do the rest of the show with you guys. Because,
I just rambled on forever,
much.
Yeah.
No, there's so much to talk about, but everything you said was true. You know, in the matchup show that we do with Missy, look, you're looking for matchups. I don't want to pat myself at the back and say I'm a genius, because you're like, okay, Chase and Higgins, now what? You know, and mine was Chase Brown, just because, you know, 2.7 yards per carry. You'd like to take something away, and the Steelers didn't take anything away. And so that was, I think, to me, the biggest problem was that you took nothing away from the Bengals, and that's sort of shame on you for not being able to do that. But also, you're right about the fact that you were scoring a bunch of points, and you know what? You can look at this game and say the defense didn't stop. Okay, that's going to happen in the NFL, right? Yeah. The other teams have coaches and great players, and look how much money the Bengals have invested in their offense. They expect to be – that's an expectation for the Bengals, what we saw out there. That's their way of winning games. You know what I mean? When they're constructed, they're saying we got to get the first one to 34 wins. They lost a bunch of games in which they scored 33 points last year. Set an NFL record in doing that. And so you could also – they talk, the Steelers, preach, and they're not the only ones about complementary football. You could easily look at this game and say, you know what lost it for us? Not the defense, the 2 turnovers.
That's what I was going to say, too. Right.
It for us.
Yeah.
You lost the turnover battle 2-0. Now, I'll also say this. There's an unbelievable play on Metcalf. Metcalf, after the game, said, I got to catch it. I get it.
Sure.
That guy, the defensive back, made an incredible play. Meanwhile, the Bengals throw one up. It gets, it's wafting up in the air, end over, and they wind up catching it for a first down. Mm-hmm. Go back to the week before with the Browns. How many interceptions did the Steelers leave out there? And with all the turnovers they'd created, even in Dublin and Minnesota, a loose ball on there, the Bengals pounce on it. It really feels like the Steelers have had a little bit of bad turnover luck. And, if that turnover battle is 1-1,
I was going to say even 0-0, I'd like their chances.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, you threw one, and now you get one back. Even if it was 1-0, I think the Steelers still would have won the game. And that, I'm not laying that at the feet of Rodgers, who made, that one throw up the sideline. That's another takeaway, by the way. So I was talking to people from Cincinnati. Said, how come more people weren't picking the Steelers to do better this year? Because I want an out of market view, because to me they're better across the board, and they got a quarterback who's better. And they told me, look, I think a lot of people just kind of thought Rodgers was done. You look at the stats last year and the record with the Jets, and I think if you're going to take something away from this game, if you're a non-Steelers fan, you're going to look at this and say, Rodgers still has a lot in the tank. His mobility, his arm strength, the magic, he still has a lot of those things. I think that, we talk about this a lot. How good of a team do you need to have? How good of a quarterback do you need to have to win a Super Bowl or to be in contention? I don't see how you could watch that game and not think, from outside of the market, not think, hey, Aaron Rodgers is one of those guys that can help you win a Super Bowl, because I thought he was fantastic. Mobility, arm strength, the Rodgers touch, the Rodgers magic. I thought a lot of that stuff was on display on Thursday night.
Yeah, and to rewind just a minute, too, I think a lot of our listeners look at Tomlin or head coaches in general, of course Tomlin, because they're so focused on this team, and almost forget what his really only job is to figure out the best path to win the game. If it's 42-41, he did his job. If it's 2-0, he did his job. And I bet going into this game, he thought there's going to be a lot of points scored because their defense is bad, and I like where our offense is at. And, they have some scary dudes, and he's very familiar with Flacco. And if I play a lot of press man coverage, I know Joe's going to chuck it up over the top because he's like the least bashful quarterback in the league, and we're going to get defensive pass interference calls. And they didn't play well enough, but I'm sure Tomlin also thought, I bet we make more big plays on defense than the Bengals do, because we always do. And that didn't happen.
Yep. Well, you had another, speaking of Mike Tomlin, because, a lot of fans, typical.
Right.
It's typical Steelers loss. And you had another thread, I think it was a different one than the one that you posted about the win-loss on Thursday nights, about since Mike Tomlin took over, he has the fourth fewest losses against teams with 8 or fewer wins. So by losing teams and, it's another bad loss for the Steelers. Well, you know what? The rest of the league is doing that too. He has the fourth fewest losses. Fourth fewest.
Yeah.
And so just think about this. Any game Bill Belichick and Tom Brady lost was a bad loss.
Right. They're favored in every one of them. Right.
The
Chiefs don't win every game.
That's right. I mean,
Mahomes is not
look,
undefeated. Right.
I love the passion, and if you're a Steelers fan, you're right, man. This hasn't been a smooth journey to this point. I don't think that very many teams have had smooth journeys.
No.
The Colts.
I mean, look at
just one. The Colts.
Look at the Colts. I mean, well, even at 6-1, man, they should have lost that game to Denver. There was another game that I think
Arizona.
They come from. Yeah, that's right. Boy, how'd you like to be an Arizona fan or a Giants fan right now? Arizona has 5 losses by a combined 13 points. Because you could maybe chalk that up to they don't know how to win. Mm-hmm. And look at the Giants. I mean, the Giants go on the road. They beat the 3-0 Chargers, who are everybody's darling, up near the top of the rankings, and the Giants beat them. And then 2 weeks later, on guess what? A Thursday division night at home, they pummeled the Eagles. Pummeled them.
And there weren't even like preseason expectations for the Giants or Cardinals, let alone.
No.
But how about like the Bills and the Ravens? I mean, some of the Super Bowl favorites.
Yeah.
Phillies had some tough times. I mean, like the top teams in the league have struggled.
It's crazy. The Giants should be 3-4, and easily they win an overtime game against Dallas. They could easily be 4-3. The Giants. Yeah. So a team that nobody was picking to do anything. The Cardinals could have a winning record. I mean. And other teams, other teams have pulled. I mean, the Broncos lost the game they shouldn't have lost, but they pulled 2 or 3 rabbits out of the hat. Yeah. And I guarantee you in the rankings this week, they'll be up there somewhere in the top 5, deservedly so. They're 5-2, but that's a team that could be 3-4. It's just I don't ever remember a season like this. And as it pertains to the Steelers, look, they're no matter what we say. They're going to play a stretch of games beginning on Sunday night, the next 6 or 7 games that are going to be difficult games leading up to the game against Miami. Baltimore's going to be better. They got Buffalo in that stretch. They have Green Bay. We're going to know they're 4-2 right now. So what did Herm Edwards say? You play to win the games, right? Mm-hmm. Let's see what the record is at the end of the stretch of games. And that's going to tell the story. I am not ready to go into survivor mode and buy cans of food and toilet paper and paper towels and run for the hills. I think it was a loss on a Thursday night that showed some things they got to pick up on, and now you move on and you take on Green Bay.
And we will be looking forward to that contest against Green Bay. Historical matchup, historical franchises, and Aaron Rodgers' storyline against his old team. That'll be a lot of fun. On Sunday night, Kinger will be looking forward to your call and a big test for the Steelers coming up here at the end of the week. Rob King, voice of your Pittsburgh Steelers. Thanks for taking the time on a Monday, partner.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Talk to you soon.
There he goes. The king in the castle, now exiting the castle, Rob King. Best part about having that guy on is we ask him like 3 or 4 questions and we kill 20 minutes. I mean,
yeah, he was on fire.
Him and Labs, you don't have to.
Labs is an inning eater.
You don't have to throw him too many alley-oops, just 1 or 2, and they will make good do. That's for sure. Look
at me learning radio stuff. This will segue into the next segment. But Rob had a good point about the rest of the league too. It's a too much. I mean, the year is pretty crazy. Who's good? I'm not sure. I know who's bad. I'm not sure who's good.
I know Tampa Bay is good.
Yeah.
Although tonight.
They could get beat bad tonight.
They could lose by 17 tonight, and it wouldn't shock me. No, absolutely. We certainly know who's bad. Who's good, though, still leaving a lot to be desired. We'll get into all of that when we return, when we go around the league. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson, recapping a crazy Sunday across the NFL. On the other side, it is The Drive on Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. A wild Sunday, Week 7 across the NFL, and also a pair of dare I say, scintillating Monday night matchups tonight, Matt. We have got
be a late one.
Plenty to get into here in the final kind of 20, 25 minutes or so of the show, so let's jump right into it. We'll start by giving some thoughts on each of these games.
Before you do,
on Sunday,
one thing really stood out to me yesterday, or 2 things of note that I think are important and kind of go hand in hand. Again, the bad teams
are real bad.
Real bad.
The Raiders, woof.
They ran 30 plays.
Is that it?
They ran 30 plays, and I think the Chiefs ran like 77.
The Titans, wolf.
The Titans are horrendous.
The Dolphins, wolf.
Yes. There was the Jets.
Wolf.
I mean, just awful, awful teams. I mean, I don't put the Jags in that situation, but they get their doors blown off by the Rams 30-7 or something like that.
35-7.
35, and never was in doubt. I mean, there were bad teams. There are bad teams, and there were a couple bad performances, including, I thought, Atlanta last night. And we saw a lot of backup quarterbacks, especially in those games, too. You know, like Geno gets benched at the end. Fields might be benched for good. Bryce Young isn't going to play next week either, and they might be better off without him. And is Brissett better than Kyler Murray?
Maybe.
I mean, I think the offense stays on schedule better. And, you know, there was a lot of backups in games, some on purpose, you know.
You mentioned all of that and the poor kind of quarterback play and the backups. And so I ask you, and it lines up first on our kind of chronological timeline. I know you were one of the guys holding on to your Trevor Lawrence stock.
It's getting hard to hold,
You selling your Trevor Lawrence stock at this point?
Close. And that's not to say he stinks. He's never going to be. I mean, he's Jamarcus Russell.
Sure,
absolutely.
Absolutely
he's a terrible player. And I don't. And I've sold the stock that one day I think he's going to be great. You know, like, and there's a lot of instances in history, like Matthew Stafford's a great one. Like when Matthew Stafford was this stage of his career as a first overall pick, he was with the poor Lions, and people were like, he's all right, but he's never going to be that good.
He'll never get you over the top.
Right, but then he gets you over the top, you know? Yeah. So I still think those things are possible, but it's getting harder and harder. And I do make a lot of excuses for Lawrence, but there's 5 throws a game where you're like, you got to make a throw. I mean, that's a layup or 8-foot jumper. I mean, it's an easy you got to make those almost all the time in this league. You can't throw 5 passes away a game that should be completions. I mean, that's okay. That's a punt.
Maybe.
One, sure.
Yeah.
Or, right. But a lot. And watching Penix last night, too, was the same way. It's like, can you complete an easy one once in a while? You know, I mean, all the time.
Just hit a layup here. Hit a free throw.
But one thing about the Jags is I even tweeted this like halfway through the second quarter. I'm like, everything about this team's playing bad. I mean, anytime that they would make a big completion, it was like, okay, holding, or someone was offside.
That's one thing I'll give Lawrence is he's not getting much help.
No. It's the second year in a row they're first in the league in drops.
I was going to say, it's like his wide receiver, like he misses a lot of throws that he should make. His wide receivers also drop a lot of passes they should catch. It's a bad combination.
On for like 25 games in a row where they're like the worst team in that regard. And I wonder, I did a lot of like fantasy work on Travis Hunter because I adore him and he's like on all my teams and all my dynasty teams. And I'm like, what's the problem here early on? And I didn't realize that the Jags defense and offense is considered basically the most complex in the league.
Okay.
So at Colorado, they're like, just cover that dude. Or, hey, you don't even have to go to wide receiver meetings. You know, like, so it might be time to concentrate on one or the other. But this isn't even a Hunter thing as much as the entire offense looks like they don't know what they're doing. You know, like they're aligned wrong all the time. They're always looking like, like
and they've got some good pieces,
right? But I wonder if this new head coach, who's considered a super brainiac, egghead nerd type, is just putting too much out there.
Yeah.
Right? They need to simplify things a little bit too.
Like he's teaching
Lawrence looks that way.
He's
too.
teaching AP US history, and he's got a bunch of like C students.
Yeah, or like we never learned, 8th grade history.
Right.
Like in math, you got to take
we need to get
to
algebra before we get to calculus.
Right. I never took that stuff. Right.
And where's trigonometry in this equation? That's very well said by you.
The Rams I wanted to talk about too.
Yeah.
Just we're not going to spend this much time in every game, but McVay's the best coach in the league, in my opinion. And he did two things that blew me away. Is I think we talked about this Friday, but I didn't realize it. They played Baltimore. And I thought they went back to L.A. And I was critical. I'm like, that's crazy to go from L.A. to London.
They stayed in practice at the Orioles ballpark.
And they stayed in practice. I found that out after I had criticized them late last week. And I'm like, good, that's smart. But the other thing he did, which you might think this is nuts. I thought it was nuts since we were just in Great Britain anyway. You were just in Dublin. They went the day before. They treated it like L.A. was playing the Ravens. which really isn't that different.
Sure. It's a 5-hour,
if you leave
6
from
hour,
Baltimore,
5-6 hours, yeah.
Right. They treated it like a West Coast to East Coast. They spent one night there.
So they left Saturday.
Yeah.
Wow.
They treated it like it was an East Coast to West Coast team.
Or did they take a red-eye Friday night and then spent one night there?
That I 100% don't know.
Regardless, yeah.
But they spent one night in a hotel.
Interesting.
That's bonkers to me.
That's bonkers.
But it worked.
And they ran away with it.
And they ran away from that game. And then the other thing they did that McVay's so smart, they didn't have Puka, so they set, including the Steelers, played more 13 personnel than any team in any game yesterday of the whole season.
Mm-hmm.
We would put a ton of tight ends out there and do blocking stuff with them, Okay, we didn't see that coming.
One thing I've always liked about McVay.
Yeah.
If you give him high quality ingredients, he's going to get you a Michelin star chef meal.
Right.
If you give him some ground beef, he's going to make you a really good cheeseburger.
Yeah,
yeah.
Yep.
It's one thing he does very well. A team that is definitely feeling good about themselves, Matt, is the Chicago Bears.
They're turning the corner too.
4 straight wins on the bounce for the Bears after taking down the Saints 26-14.
This hire is starting to really pay off, and they're starting to feel really Lions-esque. Now, these two aren't as good as Gibbs and Montgomery, but the rookie running back, he's just a total hammer.
Yeah, him and Swift
together.
And
Swift have kind of that Montgomery Gibbs feel to him. Starts with an M.
Monagai, is that how he pronounces it? Kyle is his first name.
Yes.
Monangi?
And I've been saying it correct all day, and now you're making me think wrong.
I'm sorry.
Anyways, but he's like a 6-round pick. But he's a hammerhead, and Swift is like the change of pace guy. And much like they did with Goff when he came to Detroit, they're really dialing back things for Caleb. Just make the throws when we need them. We don't need crazy stuff. Yeah. We're going to run the ball with a two-headed monster, and it's starting to take shape.
It absolutely is. 4 wins in a row. And, maybe the most optimistic they've felt in Chicago for a long time.
They get the Ravens next week, so maybe they bump them off. That'd be great.
That would be fantastic. Heading in the opposite direction, and I would be surprised if there aren't massive changes in this organization soon. The Dolphins go to Cleveland and get boat raced 31-6.
That one might be get fired in the next hour type of thing.
I honestly was kind of surprised that it didn't happen, before lunch on Monday.
Yeah. Tua's throwing picks left and right. This is another one. Quinn Ewers is out there. Oh, man. I mean, I don't even know if Cleveland played that great. I mean, their defense was good.
Junkins ran well. But
you could tell one was a well-coached team and the other one isn't. The Browns are a well-coached team. You can say what you want about them. I don't think they're a great organization, but I think they're a well-coached team both sides of the ball.
I agree.
And some of that was garbage time points. I didn't think the Browns were great. But you lose that bad to a team like the Browns, how the season's going, your seat's on fire.
Yeah, absolutely. Revenge, Matt, a dish best served cold. And it was a fun vengeance trip for Mike Vrabel and a lot of his former staff.
Or pretty predictable, though.
Formerly in Tennessee.
Yeah. May's really good.
I think we all thought that the Patriots would win, but, man, 31-13, they dominated. They're now 5-2. And, Matt, if you look at their next 5 or 6 games,
it's super easy. Yeah.
It's like the Jets
teams,
and the Dolphins and the Bengals and the Browns.
Yeah.
I mean, this team could be 9-3 in a couple weeks.
Yeah, they look like a double-digit win team. Yeah. Just with how it lines up, for sure.
Another team, much like Tennessee, much like Miami, moving in the wrong direction. I think we all thought that the Chiefs would handle the Raiders, but 31-0. Good Lord.
They're the most disappointing team to me.
Agreed.
Because I thought they would take a step forward with a legit quarterback, a legit coach. They're worse all the time.
Of the teams that are most surprising in a good way, I think it's Indianapolis.
Yes.
Maybe we could be starting to get there with Chicago. The teams that are most surprising in a bad way, there's a couple, but it's certainly the Raiders at this point.
I think so, too. Because, the Titans had the first pick in the draft last year. Miami, you could kind of see it coming. You knew there was going to be problems with the Jets. This team, I thought, would go forward, not backwards.
Yeah. Leveled up at head coach.
Yeah.
Thought they improved at quarterback.
Right.
The defense and the offense has some other pieces, but they are just so bad in the trenches. They can't do anything.
And to be fair, they didn't have Myers. They didn't have Bowers. Crosby got hurt.
Yeah.
Good luck. That's a problem. But
good luck.
Right. They're not a very good roster.
Eagles respond after 2 straight losses. No vengeance being served by Carson Wentz as Philly goes into Minnesota and a professional buttoned-up performance, take care of business 28-22.
The huge takeaway here is Flores begged them to throw, and Hurts did it really well, which we haven't seen a lot. I mean, it's like 300 yards combined for A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Like, you're going to leave those two alone? I'm going to beat you that way.
If he goes 19 of 23 for 320-some yards, the Eagles are going to be one of the last teams standing, just like they were last year.
That box had not been checked for a while.
It had not, and it was once again. And maybe they're feeling certainly better in Philadelphia this week than they have the last couple weeks. Panthers go into MetLife. Opportunity for the Jets to get that first win of the season. They do not.
They're a disaster.
13-6 as the Jets remain the lone winless team in the NFL.
I know Fields got hurt, but I think he's getting benched too. And I think they're
hard
a new
to argue
quarterback, and
against
they
at this
might
point.
have a one-and-done coach.
Yeah.
I mean, they're really, really bad.
They're another one of those Raiders type. I didn't think you were going to make the playoffs, but I didn't think you were going to be this bad. I thought you could win 7 or 8 games.
Right.
They've already lost 7 in 7 tries.
Horrible.
Matt, in one of the craziest, wildest performances that we'll see this season that we've seen in a long time, the Broncos score 33 fourth quarter points to beat the Giants 33-32. Just insane.
And Dart played well, and Scottaboo, and those guys are they're kind of fun, But to me, the biggest takeaway is, and Rob sort of mentioned this too. He mentioned the Giants. Like, I don't think they know how to win yet. They might learn. I mean, I don't know if this coach will withstand it. Who knows?
Sure.
But they're at least showing progress and learning how to win in this league. Denver, we know their defense is great. Kind of got worn out. They were on the field so much, but the Denver offense was terrible for three quarters. And then Knicks just exploded, and Peyton realized this is we're going to have to just totally take the governor off.
Yeah,
and he's a very streaky player, even going back to Oregon. But I don't know if I know they won. Should we be excited that the offense is capable of doing what they did in the fourth quarter, or should we be miserable that 90% of the quarters they played this year looked like the first 3, on
That's
offense.
a great point.
On
Maybe
offense.
it's a turning point for them and just what they needed.
Right.
Maybe it's a little bit of a false dawn.
Yeah.
We'll wait and see.
I mean, Peyton's held Knicks back on purpose. I mean, he's really, governed them. Maybe he's going to be like, all right, I'll let him wing it a little more.
Cut it loose a little bit more. A insane stat. NFL teams had won 1,000. I don't know if you've seen this. NFL teams had won 1,602 straight games when a team leads by 18 or more points in the final 6 minutes of a game. 1,602 straight games until the Giants led the Broncos 26-8 with 6 minutes left, and the Broncos came back to win. First time in over 1,600 games that has happened in the NFL, Matt. Insane.
So my son, amongst other vices, is taking up gambling a little bit too.
He's a real freshman in college now.
Exactly. And he texts me. I guess he live bet the Broncos at like plus 500 when they were losing heavy, and he texts me with like a minute left in the game. Is like, Dad, this was the hardest beat of my life. I can't believe the Broncos end up losing this one. I
just almost turned $10 into
he bets like 2 and turned
turned $2 into $20.
But he's like, I almost cashed out huge. I mean, and the Broncos are going to blow it. Then I get a text like 2 minutes later. He's like, "This is the best win of my life."
And that right there, young man, is gambling in a nutshell.
Good lesson. Yeah,
that is funny. The Chargers at home, Matt, not only performed poorly, but also wore, I think, the ugliest uniforms I've seen an NFL team ever wear, as they fell to the Colts 38-24.
Herbert was great. They got receivers now all of a sudden. Johnston, McConkey, this Gadsden kid is pretty impressive. Keenan Allen's far from dead.
Yeah.
But the Colts are an offensive juggernaut.
They don't have any weaknesses.
They don't have any weaknesses.
Like, I think the only thing you could say about them at this point is, do they run into Buffalo or Kansas City in the playoffs, and Daniel Jones has to outduel one of those future gold jacket guys, and it ends up biting you.
Right.
But other than that, I don't know where the criticism is, where the holes are, where the holes you want to punch in them right now. Yeah.
I mean, Taylor's like an offensive player of the year candidate. Warren's a rookie of the year candidate. They have weapons everywhere.
They sure do. The Cowboys take care of business against the Commanders.
Right.
This one was surprising. Also, maybe some injury, hamstring stuff with Jalen Daniels. Jaden Daniels, pardon me. Jalen Daniels is the Kansas quarterback. Jaden Daniels is the Washington quarterback. And the Commander, I think that's the bigger story, is the Commander's season might be on life support here before we even get to Halloween.
Right. I mean, I assume he'll miss a little time. I don't know. But their lack of weapons is astonishing at the moment right now, too. There's no receivers getting open. And then the opposite is true for Dallas. Like, this is one of the best offenses in the league. You want CeeDee Lamb, too? Let's roll.
They are reminding me a little bit of the Bengals last year.
Yeah, very much.
I think they'll play meaningful football into December, and they'll be in a wild card race, but it's going to be a roller coaster the entire way.
Maybe they should trade for Hendrickson or try to find something on defense.
It wouldn't be the worst idea, honestly. Packers go into Arizona. Still a Green Bay team that is not playing great, but they find a way to get it done. 27-23. They are now 4-1-1. And as Rob King alluded to, a Cardinals team that just has to be banging their head against the wall because they have lost 5 games, 2-5, by a combined 13 points.
Awful.
It's tough.
We'll talk more Packers, obviously.
Plenty, but we don't need to get into them a ton.
Big key was 6 sacks. Micah Parsons was the closer.
I was going to say Parsons is doing Parsons things.
3 sacks from him, and he closed things out.
It's also been nice to see Trey McBride start to.
Him and Brissett get along better than him and Kyler Murray, too.
Yes, they do. Yeah. And I had been kind of kicking myself for drafting McBride where I did in my fantasy leagues, not these last couple weeks. He's finally showing that worth. And you kind of referenced Penix and just a head-scratching performance there off of their most encouraging performance of the season. The Falcons, a step back certainly as they fall to 3-3. The Niners, despite every reason not to, continue to win games. They're 5-2.
If Colts isn't coach of the year, I always call it a team because it shouldn't just be the guy.
Sure.
Then it's the Niners. I mean, they're 5-2.
Despite every reason not to be.
Every reason not to be. And Kittle comes back, doesn't even catch a pass, but he helps in the run game. And McCaffrey is the total locomotive, but he was running through much bigger holes now all of a sudden. Defense has nothing left, but it doesn't matter. Penix is worrisome, though.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Or yes, he is.
Yeah.
Pardon me. And so that's kind of your Week 7 Sunday slate recapped there. We have 2 great games, an early one and a late one tonight in the Monday night doubleheader. We will give a couple thoughts on those before we get up out of here on the other side. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson, it's The Drive on Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Final few minutes of The Drive here on a Monday, and I tell you what, a couple of very palatable Monday night football games tonight to watch.
Wish one wasn't starting at 10.
I do wish that Texans and Seahawks was not starting at 10. What a night in Seattle. I didn't even think about
this. Is this game 7 too? Or?
Yeah, TV. I think you'll know this. Is the Mariners are at home tonight, right? Is that correct? Or the Mariners, is that one in? No, that one's in Toronto. Because the Mariners won the first 2 games in Toronto, and then Toronto won the next 2 in Seattle. So I was going to say, man, Monday Night Football.
Holy smokes.
And a Game 7 to go to the World Series in the same town on the same night. But yeah, that will be in Toronto, that Game 7 in the MLB tonight. But speaking of 7, it is 7 o'clock. Bucks, Lions, 2 of the best teams in the NFC, Matt. This is a real early season litmus test.
They could have a rematch. I mean, this could be the NFC Championship game.
I think the Eagles are still going to be in the conversation. I think the Packers are going to be in the conversation, but these might be 2 of the top 3 or 4 teams in the NFC.
Yeah.
Big one tonight.
Maybe 1 and 2.
And you kind of mentioned it. It wouldn't shock me if the Lions won big because that's what they do.
They do beat teams bad.
And if it's a tough spot for Tampa, but Detroit favored 6.5 might be a little too much for my blood.
I think that's a bit much for me too. But it wouldn't shock me if we get back here tomorrow going, Lions might be the best team in the league.
Yeah, they win 30-20, something like that.
Yeah,
30-17.
But they have some defensive injuries, and Mike Evans is coming back, and I would definitely take the points.
I think I'm taking the points too. Again, the Lions winning comfortably wouldn't shock me because they do that a lot.
They do.
Like if they're not losing, they're winning by double digits.
Yeah,
it's
go for it on 4th and run the score up, and they're just aggressive.
The Bucs have had they're a very good team, one of the best in the NFL, but they've had a little rabbit's foot element early on in the season too, where they've had a couple of those things break their way. Maybe that comes back tonight to kind of water finding its level, but I'm very excited to watch that one at 7 o'clock.
It's a really good game.
And then the nightcap, I will promise you one thing, Matt, is that I will be there for kickoff. I don't know how much longer
I'll be there for every snap.
I'll hang around. I'm going to do my best, but, with a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, the mornings come very early at this stage in life for me. But
I might try to get a half-hour snooze between this show and
not a bad idea.
First kickoff.
Seahawks hosting the Texans, a big one for both of these teams. If Seattle wins this, they're 5-2. They're still in lockstep with everybody there in the NFC.
And if they do, we might be talking about them with the
Lions and
Packers
Bucks and
teams
Eagles.
we just mentioned.
Absolutely,
they're worthy of that.
And for the Texans, it's like if you win this, it's a big win on the road. You're back to 500.
That'd be 3 in a row for them.
It'd be 3 in a row for them. Yeah. If you lose, it's like, okay, we understand that that's a tough spot. We're not crushing you for it, but you'd be NFC 2-4, and you'd really be chasing the Colts and really kind of putting all your eggs in the wild card basket.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they're fortunate the Jags have fallen apart all of a sudden too. But the Colts aren't just within their division. I just expect a really, really good defense tonight. I think it's gonna be a really good low-scoring game.
It's a low over/under, only 41 and a half.
2 really good pass rushes, 2 really good constructed defenses. I could see this being a race to 14, 16, something like that. So I would take the points, whatever. I don't know what the line is.
Seattle's favored 3.5.
I thought it was over 3, so I would definitely take the points here, just because I think it's going to be tight.
That's one of those good Vegas lines, because if it's Seattle 4.5, I would definitely take the points with Houston. If it was Seattle 2.5, I would definitely lay the points with the Seahawks.
Yeah.
I think I'm with you. I think I'm going to take the points in both of these games.
We've talked about it a lot. Seattle's so good on the road, but they haven't been as great at home as you think.
They really haven't.
Everyone thinks it's like the hardest place to play in the league. It really hasn't been for a couple of years, though.
I think I'll take Houston plus 4.5. I'll take Tampa Bay plus 6.5.
I'm taking the points on both.
Yeah, but nothing would surprise. No result in either of these games tonight would surprise me.
Me
I think
neither.
this is a real measuring stick moment for all 4 of these teams.
I think they're all pretty good teams.
Yeah. I think the way that in Detroit and Houston they'll be talking about Packers Steelers Sunday night is kind of the way that that we're talking. Like it's could see these games going either way. Whoever wins is going to be in a good position and feel really strongly. Whoever loses is going to be like, man, that was an opportunity to kind of stake our claim and stay in the upper crust conversation of the league. But it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to both games.
I'm excited about that. We'll recap both games tomorrow here on the show as we roll along this week. Matt and I have got some other kind of fun things that we've been emailing back and forth that we'll get into tomorrow to kind of bridge the gap of a chunkier week content-wise for us here without having a ton of Steelers recap today. But that will do it for us on this Monday. Big thanks to Rob King for joining us. And, of course, Tyler V., Mr. TV, not only our YouTube producer, but also our resident Major League Baseball fact checker here for us in this final segment. For Matt Williamson, I'm Wes Uhler. Take care, everybody. We'll talk to you tomorrow. You know, as always, where to find us. It's on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. It's Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network.